Happy Wednesday! You're listening to Mama Murdered a Podcast. I'm your host, AB. And this week, before I get into the normal shit that I say before we get into a case, I want to address the missing 22-year-old Tyler Doyle from the town that I live in South Carolina. I've seen all the conspiracy theories and the bad-mouthing that's been happening in regards to how Tyler went missing, and people just saying really nasty things about his family, his wife, and even sending death threats. I just want to say that I will most definitely be covering this case when it's done, when we know all the facts and when he's found. But until then, can we just stop talking about people that we don't actually know in real life and spreading rumors about a family that's already going through the most tragic thing that you can possibly go through? That would be great. I will say that Tyler and his family are the best kind of people that you run across in life. And for those, it's people that don't actually know him or his family, people that don't live here, and it is making my head hurt. I have an anxiety attack, it feels like 3 times a day, with he's been found, just kidding, that was somebody else, and between that and the rumors, it's getting ridiculous. And I think that's that on that part. So, this week on Mama Murdered a Podcast, we'll be covering the wild, crazy-ass case of Dalia Dippolito. She hired a hitman to kill her own husband, but this story has so many plots and twists, and there's so many things wrong with it that it's not even funny. So, let's get it. New York City, 1982. October 18th, Dalia Muhammad was born to her mom, Rhonda Muhammad. And when Dalia was 13 years old, the family relocated to Boynton Beach, Florida. And I know I would normally give a lot more detail about the backgrounds, upbringing, things of that nature, but Dalia is the villain in this case, and she doesn't deserve any more airtime than she's already got. Dalia used her looks and her sexuality to get what she wanted, and that wasn't a secret. She worked as a real estate agent by day, but by night, she worked as an escort. And working as an escort is where she would actually meet her future husband, Mike. Mike Dippolito was a married man when he met Dalia. But he and Dalia had what we would all call a whirlwind romance, and when I say that, I mean that in the realest sense of the term. Mike filed for divorce from his previous wife just 2 weeks after he met Dalia that night while she was his escort. And this wasn't like he and his previous wife were already about to file for divorce or that they were having problems. Before he met Dalia, Mike and his first wife had been married for 7 years. So Dalia must have been doing something right. I am so sorry. I just realized I had the AC unit on, and you can definitely hear it on my end. Hopefully I can clean that up where it's not so bad. But it's off now. So Mike proposed to Dalia with a ring that costed $20,000, and of course, she was all over that. Mike and Dalia married 5 days after his divorce from his first wife was legally finalized on February 2nd, 2009. They weren't wasting any time. He waited a whole ass 5 days before he married Dalia. But with a $20,000 ring and the ink still wet from his first divorce, Mike and Dalia went to the local courthouse and got married instead of having a big, fancy wedding with all their friends and family. It was just the two of them. And then they started their lives together in Palm Beach County in Florida. And that should say something right there. It's in Florida. We all know. We all know about Florida. But there were some things about Mike that Dalia didn't know, or at least that's what she claims. So when Mike and Dalia married, Mike was on probation. His probation term was set for 28 years. Yes, you heard that right, 28 years. I didn't even know that was a thing. And his crimes were all kind of petty and money related. He was basically calling people and talking them into investing in fake stocks through him. So stock fraud, I guess. And as part of the terms of his probation, he was ordered to pay restitution. So he was made to pay the money back from the people that he had talked the money out of and serve his little 28 years probation, and that was supposed to be that. But from my understanding, the quicker Mike was able to pay the money back to the people he had scammed it off of originally, it was more likely that he would get off of the term of probation that he was serving. He would probably be able to get off earlier than originally planned anyways. So he must have taken a good bit of money, and that's not why we're here. Dalia claims that she had no idea that Mike was even on probation when they got married, which is normally what happens when you marry somebody that you don't really know. And little did Mike know that he didn't know his new wife either whatsoever. So, after only about 3 months of marriage, Dalia told Mike that she was pregnant, which was great news for him because he was completely head over heels in love with Dalia. He loved that she was beautiful and successful and that she had her own career and she stood on her own 2 feet before she'd even met Mike. So, this seemed like his literal dream come true. The couple had been married for 6 months and living a relatively normal life together for the most part. Kinda. We'll get further into that. It was on the morning of August 5th, 2009 that Dalia got up and got dressed and she headed out to the gym, which is something that Mike usually did by himself. And normally, Mike would go to the gym with Dalia, but not this morning because Mike was recovering from liposuction surgery that he had just recently had. So instead of going to the gym with Dalia, Mike stayed home to rest and heal and probably eat a lot of junk food. But while Dalia was mid-workout at the gym, she got a call on her cell phone, and when she answered it, her heart just stopped. She immediately packed her things up and headed back home to where her husband was. And this is the call that she got.
This is Sergeant Frank Ramsey, Boynton Beach Police Department. Ma'am, I need to talk to you. It's very urgent when you come home. It involves your husband. There's been an incident.
So Dalia immediately left the gym and she headed straight back to her house. When she pulled up at her house, though, there was crime scene tape strung out around the whole house and covering her house, and even the front door to the Dippolito house was standing wide open. As Dalia's getting out of her car, she notices a film crew taping her house. It was the film crew for the reality TV show Cops. We all know it, we all love it. But this just meant that whatever had happened wasn't good. So a detective meets Dalia in the road, and he's got bad news. Her husband Mike has been shot in the head twice, and he's passed away. Now, this detective telling Dalia that her husband had been shot and killed was caught on camera by the Cops filming crew. So I'm going to play that here, and then we'll play it again in a few. We'll compare notes. It'll be fun.
I'm Sergeant Ramsey. I'm the one that called you. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry to call you. Listen, we had a report of a disturbance at your house, and there were shots fired. Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am. He's been killed. He's been killed, ma'am. I'm sorry. Listen. No. Try to calm down. Listen, right now we need to get you to the station. We need to get you to our police station. I can't let you stay, man. We have to do our job. If you want us to find this killer, okay? We need you to calm down. I'm going to need you to go with these detectives, okay? Does he have enemies? Is there anyone that would want to hurt him? Okay, who would want to hurt him? Witnesses said they saw a black male running from you. I can't let you see him, ma'am. Ma'am, I cannot do this right now. Ma'am, I can't do it. Detective Yopi, I need you to take me to the station. I can't. Ma'am, go with these detectives. If you want to help your husband, okay? If you want to help your husband, you need to go to the station with these gentlemen and tell us everything you know about who he knows, who he's connected to. Don't worry, we've already taken care of your dogs with animal control for right now. Everything's under control. And we'll take care of everything else, okay? Thank you, guys.
Okay, so obviously she's upset. Obviously she's heartbroken and in shock. And the detective, luckily, he tells Dalia, like, there was an eyewitness in her husband's murder. Someone had seen a black man running away from Dalia and Mike's house just seconds after the gunshots were heard. So Dalia sobs in the arms of the detective in front of her house, and the producers from the show Cops are filming everything. Her entire grieving process is being filmed. That just seems rude, but that's just me. The detective explains to Dalia, like, I know this isn't what you want to be doing right now, but we need to take you down to the station and ask you some questions in order to be able to start the investigation. We need to know who had problems with your husband, who would want to hurt him, normal police questions in a murder investigation. Dalia agrees, and when they get into the police station, Dalia starts telling police that Mike's been trying to get off probation and that he had a lot of different enemies with his stock fraud past, and she gives them a few names of people that she can think of right off the top of her head that, maybe they should start looking into. Good potential suspects, if you will. She lets them know that Mike had swindled people out of a shit ton of money and that he knew a few shady people that were involved in organized crime. She even went on to say that Mike had been running into a lot of shady people from his past out in public here recently, and maybe they could start there also. She even tells the detectives about a guy that she and Mike had bumped into while they were shopping at Target, and that the guy was obviously not very happy with Mike. The police ask a few more typical questions about their marriage, how it was, were they going through any financial problems, and she's like, no, we're newlyweds and we're completely in love. So they're still in the newlywed phase of their marriage, like the honeymoon phase. They haven't been married long enough to have problems yet. It's been 6 months. Dalia goes on to tell the detectives that she and Mike had been pulled over by police officers a few times and that Mike's car had been searched, but that nothing had been found. And that Mike had been so worried about his probation being violated and, protecting his own assets that he signed his house over into Dalia's name. Dalia rattled off a few different names to people that may want her husband dead, along with a few reasons that those same people may want Mike dead. She also told detectives that Mike was a recovering drug addict and a recovering alcoholic, and then the detectives brought in a guy that was a suspect in Mike's shooting. They walked this guy into the room and they asked Dalia if she knew him or if she had ever met or seen him before. She says that she's never seen this man before and that she doesn't know who he is. And then the detective drops a bombshell that nobody was prepared for. Mike is actually alive and well, which is insane. How do you get shot in the head twice and live? But that wasn't the only bombshell that was dropped in that room that day. The detective also had tons and tons and tons of audio and video recording of someone plotting and planning to have Mike killed. Any guesses? Okay, they had Dalia on audio and video, plotting and planning to kill her husband, Mike. Can you just say, mic drop? Get it? Mic drop? Okay, so let's go back a little bit earlier on the day of August 5th, 2009, after Dalia had left the house for the gym. Dalia left the house to go to the gym at 6 a.m. Who does that to themselves? Not me, I know that much, but regardless, it's 6 a.m. and Dalia leaves the house to go to the gym. Shortly after this, that's when there was a knock on the Dippolito house and Mike goes to answer it. It's a police officer standing at Mike's front door, and you just know with his probation and shit, he was like, oh my God, what now? But they weren't even here for his probation. They're actually there to let Mike know that his wife had hired a hitman to kill him. The police take Mike back to the police station with them, and they show him all of the video and all of the audio recordings of Dalia meeting with a hitman and plotting his entire murder. And I'm guessing after seeing, hearing, and listening to everything that they're telling him, Mike started thinking about a few things that had happened in the past, and he saw absolutely none of these red flags. Mike actually tells the detective that now that he's thinking about it, he thinks that Dalia may have tried to kill him a few times before this. I'm sorry, what? And the time that she wasn't trying to kill him, it seemed like she was trying to get him caught up in something that would violate his probation. Hence, he would get taken back to jail and be gone from her life. I don't think people realize that divorce is really not that hard. Mike could think of 8 times that he now thought she had tried to either kill him or set him up to be arrested on a probation violation. Once Dalia had gotten him a drink from Starbucks while she was out, a green tea. But after Mike had taken the first sip, he immediately spit the drink out, said it tasted awful, and he didn't drink any more of it. And from just that one sip, he had been sick for 2 weeks afterwards. Now he's thinking that the green tea had probably been spiked with antifreeze. And it comes out later during the trial that she actually had poisoned his Starbucks drink. There was another person that was aware of this attempt on Mike's life and was later able to corroborate Mike's statement about the drink making him sick as hell. Another time that he remembered was when he had been pulled over by a police officer and his car had been searched for seemingly no reason at all. Which he would later find out that Dalia had called in an anonymous tip to the police department and told them that Mike was working for, top dog drug dealers in the area. Luckily, they hadn't found anything during the search of his car during the traffic stop, or that would have been a huge probation violation. Because if he had been caught with drugs or violated his probation in any way, then he would have been sent back to jail, no questions asked. And if that attempt would have worked, Mike would have been none the wiser, and that would have been that. But Mike went on to tell the detective that he had been stopped by the police again and searched again for what seemed like no reason. And yet again, nothing was found during this search of his car that time either. But the very next day after that search of his car, Mike was getting gas and he found a baggie of pills in his car. He knew that the pills weren't his, so he asked the only other person that would be in his car for, any reason. His whole ass wife. Dalia said she had no idea where they had come from and that they weren't hers either. So luckily, Mike found the bag of pills and not the officer that had searched his car literally the night before this. And poor Mike just thought that he was like hitting a string of bad luck, like weird and unexplained police interactions. But he also thought this may be because he did have a criminal background and he just kind of brushed all this stuff off. I don't know how you dodged this many red flags, but the man did it. Then Mike started telling police that Dalia had only started going to the gym 2 weeks before the murder-for-hire plot was revealed to him. That Mike had always been the one that was big into going to the gym and working out, and that Dalia had never really been interested in going with him before. So while Mike and some of the officers were back at the station going over all these times that he thought that Dalia had either tried to kill him or have his probation violated, there are other officers at the Dippolito house staging a pretty convincing crime scene for Dalia to come home to after she'd gotten the fake call about her husband being injured. They put some crime scene tape up, they left the front door standing wide open, and they even somehow collaborated with the show cops to get them on the scene to film the whole thing. Oh, and the mysterious black man that the eyewitness had seen fleeing the Dippolito house was actually the hitman that Dalia had hired. Crazy enough, though, the hitman was actually an undercover officer named Witty Jean. What kind of name is that? But this guy's dope, so we're going to roll with it. But this is the part in the episode where you got to be wondering, like, how the hell did the police even put all this stuff together to start with? Well, let's back up a little bit, and I'll explain how the stars aligned up perfectly, and this was all set into play to catch this trash human plotting to kill her husband. Dalia's ex-boyfriend, or sneaky link, or honestly, I don't know what they were to each other, but his name was Muhammad. And Dalia strung this poor Muhammad guy along for so long, like as long as she possibly could, in order to get whatever she wanted from him that he had to offer. Dalia had met Muhammad at a gas station that he owned, and the two started dating, or maybe even they just slept together. But even after their relationship was over, Dalia and Muhammad stayed friends for years after this. But only when Dalia needed something from Muhammad. Then she'd call or show up, flirt a little, maybe show a little leg, to keep him intrigued. Also to get him to do whatever she wanted or needed. And even after Dalia and Mike were married, she would tell Muhammad that she wanted to be with him, that she just needed to figure out a way to get Mike out the picture, yada, 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 you know the drill. So on July 30th, 2009, only 5 days before Dalia would finally get caught, she met up with Muhammad at the gas station that he owned, and she asked him if he could kill Mike for her. She just needed Mike out the picture and then they could be together. Muhammad was like, I don't know about this. But he just kind of let Dalia talk and he just listened. Dalia went on and on and on about how abusive Mike was and about how if he would just kill Mike, that not only could they be together, but then he'd be saving Dalia from a dangerous marriage. And he'd basically just be her hero for life if he could do her this one solid, just kill somebody for me. But he's not a stupid man, and he knew if Mike was murdered that it would get back to him, and then he'd be the one arrested, and he's not wrong. So instead, Muhammad goes into the police station, and he tells him that he has a friend who wanted him to kill her husband, and that he doesn't know what to do with it. He doesn't know what to do with this information. The police ask for his friend's name, address, husband's name, like anything. But Muhammad didn't know Dalia or Mike's last name, and he had no idea where they lived. But he did give a description of what Dalia looks like. So the police officers asked Muhammad if he'd be willing to meet with Dalia again and get some of these details on the audio recording. He could wear a wire, and then they'd be able to figure out who they needed to look into with this information. Muhammad agrees, and he just kind of turned state witness. And Boynton Beach Police Department got undercover officer Witty Jean to play the part of the hired hitman. So police install cameras in Muhammad's car, they wire him up, and Muhammad calls Dalia. And he's like, hey, I need you to meet me at the gas station so we can talk about that thing you wanted me to do. So they met at the same gas station that they had met at just the day before, but this time with Muhammad's car wired up and ready to go. And I'm telling you, as soon as Dalia opened the car door and sits down, she immediately just starts talking about how Muhammad could kill Mike and what all he would need to do it. And Muhammad's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not going to be the one to kill Mike, but I know a guy that I can introduce you to, and he's good. He's been doing this for years, and he'll do it with no problem. And when I tell you there is no shortage of things that Dalia says during this meetup that will eventually be used against her in court, I mean that. Dalia tells Muhammad that if somebody kills Mike, she's not going to go out of town while it happens because that would be suspicious. and that no one would ever believe that she was planning to pay somebody to kill her husband. She's just too small and too cute for that. And she even says that she doesn't want Mike dead for the money, which that last part was a lie. All of that was a lie. And she had even brought $1,200 with her because she thought she was going to be giving the money to Muhammad to kill Mike, so Muhammad could get a gun or supplies or whatever he needed with it. Because he hadn't told her no the night before when they had talked about it. But now, since he was telling her no and just telling her that he would put her in touch with a hitman who would be able to do it, so Dalia gives the $1,200 to Muhammad so that he can give it to the hitman to buy a gun or whatever else he may need. And Dalia had even brought 2 separate pictures of Mike and a picture of their house where he could be found, and I believe she gave him the key to their house to give to the hitman. So she brought 2 different pictures, a picture of their house and a house key, and told Muhammad, give it to the hitman so he knows what Mike looks like and where to find him. Dalia even told Muhammad that she may be able to get some more money out the bank to leave in the house, just as an added bonus for the hitman, She's really nice like that. Dalia went so far as to tell Muhammad to make sure that the hitman wipes her fingerprints off of the pictures of Mike and their house. And all of this is on video and audio recording for the police. But police want to make sure that all this is, legit. So they send undercover officer Witty Jean in to meet with Dalia and go over the plans for the murder. So Muhammad tells Dalia that the hitman is going to be calling her. And when Witty Jean does call her, he tells Dalia that he's coming into Florida and that when they meet, she'll need to bring $3,000. The plan was for Witty Jean to meet with Dalia and make her believe that he was a hitman, that's actually what he did for a living. But Witty wasn't given a script and not really much of any plan. He just had to be convincing enough for Dalia to believe it. And luckily she did. That's all that matters. The TV show Cops and the police department set up cameras and audio recording devices where Dalia and the undercover officer had planned to meet, which was in a CVS parking lot in Witty Jean's car. When Dalia gets into the car, she's kind of flirty, and she really didn't waste any time getting right to the nitty-gritty details about the murder for hire. The police were kind of shocked at how quickly Dalia did start going into details and asking questions, but Witty Jean ain't no cheap hitman, and he's like, hey, you're going to need to bring a little more than $1,200 because that's not even close to enough to pay me to kill somebody. Dalia lets this quote-unquote hitman know that Wednesday morning Mike would be withdrawing $10,000 from their bank, and he tells the hitman exactly what Mike's plans were that day. Tells him that Wednesday would probably be the best day to do it, because then the hitman would be able to keep the $10,000 that Mike was supposed to be withdrawing from the bank. The hitman / undercover officer and Dalia lay out this entire plan. And right before they part to go their separate ways, Witty Jean tells Dalia, once I leave, there's no turning back. Are you sure you want to do this? You're not going to be able to call and change your mind. You're not going to be able to get in touch with me at all. Once you leave from here, that is it. Are you absolutely sure? Dalia looks this man straight in the face and says, quote, I'm positive, 5,000% sure. No, I'm determined already. Yes, she actually used the phrase, I'm 5,000% sure. Witty Jean makes sure to tell Dalia that she needs to be gone from the house when he goes in to kill Mike. And just like that, Mike was set to die on Wednesday morning. Witty Jean told Dalia that by the time she got home from the gym Wednesday, there would be a body there waiting on her. The plan that Witty and Dalia had come up with was for Witty to, quote-unquote, break into their house with the key that she gave him on Wednesday morning while Dalia was at the gym. Witty would shoot and kill Mike and take the $10,000 that Mike had withdrawn from the bank. Dalia thanks Witty, and the two just kind of go their separate ways. And we kind of know how the rest of the story goes from here, so let's go over some things that Mike should have seen as red flags, but didn't. The lawyer that had advised Mike to sign his house over to Dalia was actually Dalia's old friend Muhammad. Yes, the same Muhammad that she tried to originally hire to kill Mike. And as Mike was talking to the investigators about all this crazy shit that's going on, Mike starts to realize that he'd actually been conned out of $100,000 by Dalia too. His own wife conned him out of $100,000, and he didn't even realize it until he was sitting in the room with the investigators talking about this murder for hire plot. So how did Dalia con Mike out of $100,000? You gotta be wondering. Well, I'll tell you. The plan was that Mike would have to come up with $100,000, and that Dalia would come up with another $91,000. They'd put their money together, and that would be enough to pay off all of Mike's restitution that he owed and hopefully get him off probation. Remember, he's got a long-ass 28-year probation term to serve. The quicker he pays his restitution, the quicker he's off probation. And once the couple paid the $191,000 restitution, then they would only have to pay Mike's lawyers to go back to court with him and show proof that he had paid his restitution fees. But Dalia was the one that was in charge of sending the $191,000 out to Mike's lawyers. And she even told Mike that she sent it. But she told Mike that she had wired the entire $191,000 to be paid, but that the wire transfer had been reversed, which Mike even says that he knew that wasn't a thing. So Mike knew that Dalia had kind of stolen the money and conned him out of it, and he still stayed with her. But Mike did tell detectives that he and Dalia had incredible sex, so maybe that was enough reason for him to stay. I'm not here to judge. It's none of my business. But either way, he stayed. So remember when I said that there was a black man... remember when I said that they brought a black man into the room with Dalia and asked if she knew him? Right, that was none other than the undercover cop, Whitty Jean. The detective that had been talking to Dalia throughout this entire questioning, at this point, he was so over playing Mr. Nice Guy. He tells her right after Whitty Jean walks out of the room that he was actually an undercover police officer and that they knew everything. The gig's up. They knew about her trying to hire a hitman, and she doesn't even attempt to break character. She is sticking to her story that she has absolutely no idea why someone would want to hurt her poor Mike. This, that, and the third, and this bitch does not stop. So the police are like, okay, screw it. Bring in the big guns. And they bring in an alive Mike. He's alive and well, and he walks right through the door of the investigation room. Dalia's sitting there, and I'm gonna play this because I cannot do it justice.
Oh my God!
Who's alive?
Come here, please. Come here. Mike, come here. Come here, please. Come here.
Can't fix
Oh
it.
my God! I didn't do anything
I
to
heard
him.
you.
Mike, come here, please. Come here.
Okay. Wait. Detective, please.
Do you know how hard it would be for them to keep their shit together for the entire time that they were talking to her up until this point? I could never. My facial expressions would have given it away immediately. When the detective tells Dalia that Mike's alive, she says, "Oh, thank God." Yeah, okay, "Oh, thank God," in my most sarcastic and eye-rolled voice. Police put the cuffs on Dalia and they take her to the county jail, where she used one of her very, very precious phone calls to call none other than Mike. I cannot even describe how annoying she is during this call, so I'm going to play that for you here too.
Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
Nothing, Mike. Can you please come here?
Hey, listen, I don't want to fight with you. Honestly, I can't help you.
Mike,
Don't you understand what just happened?
what they're saying is not true.
How is that possible?
Like, I'm sitting here. It's not true. It's not possible. You wouldn't even give me 2 minutes to talk to you, but it's not possible. What they are saying is not true.
How in the hell did I hear it and see it?
Like, I heard what you heard. It's not true. I heard what you heard and I saw what you saw. Everything they showed you, they showed me.
And how is it not? How are you telling me that?
I
It's
am
not
giving you my word that it's not true.
What do you? I couldn't help you if I wanted to.
Like, please, I need an attorney. Can you please help me? It's not true.
Your brother was here and I spoke to him and he's gonna go talk to your mom. I called them for you already, right? So everybody knows where you're at. I took care of
I
it.
know that I need your help, okay? This is not true.
I understand you too. Look, how do you explain what I saw and heard?
Like, I am limited on my phone call. You know more than anybody. It's not true. Just give me time so I can talk to you.
What? What did you say? I saw it. I heard it.
I saw what you saw and I heard what you heard.
Okay, what the f***? You said you wanted to have me killed. I heard that.
It's not true. That is not
How is it not true?
How can you believe that?
I heard your voice.
How can you believe it?
That isn't the point. I heard you say it.
It's not. I heard what you heard and it's not.
What what did I hear then? I heard you say.
I heard the tape. Okay, I heard the tape and I saw pictures and I saw the whole 9 yards. I saw all of it.
So why would you meet a black guy in a parking lot? Explain that.
I'm sitting here on the phone. I will tell you when I see you in person. Please.
I can't come there anyway. I'm not allowed there.
That's not true. Who said that? They tell you that on purpose. It's not true.
Diane, I don't know what you could tell me. Even if, let's pretend, I said, oh, it's all better. I can't, they're charging your ass. Don't you get it?
Like, I didn't do anything. Please.
Woo, the amount of gaslighting in that call had to have been like world record-ish. So Mike may not be perfect, but he's got to have a good heart. He told Dalia during the call that he had already called her parents to let them know where she was and what was going on so they weren't worried about her. And even after Mike tells her that he's seen and watched and heard everything against her, she's still gaslighting the hell out of him. It's not true. I heard what you heard. I saw what you saw. It's not true. And I'm convinced that Dalia will deny ever trying to hire someone to murder her husband until the day she dies. You will not change my mind. Dalia was charged with the solicitation of first-degree murder, and her trial started in 2011. And she was facing up to 30 years. I don't know how this made it past the first 2 days of trial, because I feel like the video footage and the audio footage by itself would be enough to throw her under the jail, but that's just not how our justice system works, and she got a fair trial. During the trial, the prosecution laid out the mounds and mounds and mounds of evidence that they had collected, and the prosecution also knew that Mike had a little bit of a criminal background, and that the defense would try to turn that around and make the case about him and make him the bad guy. Lucky for Mike, though, he's funny. He's funny as hell. And I want to play this clip of Mike being questioned on the stand, just because it doesn't get any more classic than this.
If you were staring at me, I'd think you were a weird guy. Okay. Well, I'm staring at you now, so am I weird? No, you're like a parrot. A parrot? Yeah. What does that mean? I've been called a lot of things. What's a parrot? You know. Come on. You're winking at the judge. He doesn't know what you mean. What do you mean? Did you do that on probation? Were you on probation? Did you do that on probation? Were you on probation? You know what I'm talking about. I'm just having fun with you. Come on, I'm with you. You're having fun with me? Let me ask you something. Is this fun, Mr. Dippolito? This sucks. Okay. Was it fun when you got arrested? No. Was it fun when you went through court? Horrible. Okay. So, is there anything funny about this proceeding at all, Mr. Dippolito? The questions you're asking me, some of them, yeah. You don't like them, do you? It's ridiculous. We're not here because of me. Well, you might as well put me up next. I mean, what are we doing here? Well, wait a minute, Mr. Dippolito. Well, you're a prosecutor. Well, you started it. You're a prosecution witness. Is that right? Yes. Okay. And you took an oath to tell the truth, right? Yes. And when you were placed on probation, again, you are presumptively telling the truth, right? Yes. But you've admitted that you're a liar, haven't you? Yeah, I've been dishonest. Yes. Not just when you committed your crimes, but while you're on probation, too. You're lying to your probation officer like it's nothing. Okay. Is that, no, not okay. I guess it's okay with you to lie to your probation officer. But my question is that something you don't take serious either? I take it very serious. Obviously.
And this clip made everybody in the courtroom laugh, and to be fair, Mike wasn't wrong. Every question had while you're on probation at the end of it. But the defense, they did things a little different. They tried to say that Dalia, Mike, and Muhammad had all set this plan up together. Mike knew that she was going to have him killed. That was the plan. No, I'm just kidding. They said that they had planned to film this entire thing, and then once they got done with filming, they would post their homemade reality TV show on the internet and hope to get a deal with the TV show for their own reality TV show. And I'm sorry, someone's been watching way too much Jersey Shore, because that is not how this works. So she was only acting when she tried to hire the hitman, which would explain away the video and audio footage, right? And Mike knew about it. And the reality TV show was all Mike's idea to start with. So just for shits and giggles, let's say this is true. That everyone was in on it, that Dalia knew she was being recorded, that Mike was aware of the whole thing. Let's just say all of that's true. Don't you think when the police showed up at Mike's door saying, hey man, your wife's trying to kill you, that Mike would be like, oh shit, no, our bad. We're actually trying to make a homemade reality TV show and get famous. It's not real. It's all good. Yeah, I would think so too. Now, Dalia says that even the parts of the story where Muhammad went to the police station to tell on her, and Mike finding out from the police at his front door that his wife's been trying to get him killed, that was all actually part of the script too. And it had been the whole time. See, it was just a big misunderstanding. She's obviously not the brightest crayon in the box, and Dalia didn't end up testifying at her own trial, which was probably pretty smart on her part. It took the jury 3 hours to deliberate before they came back with a verdict. And lucky for Mike, the jury wasn't buying her "we just wanted to be famous" gig either. Dalia Dippolito was found guilty for the solicitation to commit first-degree murder, and she was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Mike gave a statement after Dalia's sentencing where he said, quote, "I'm sad, I wish we were never here, but as far as her sentence, I'm 5,000% happy with it." Which, I don't think he could have worded that any better if he tried. Crazy enough, this case just keeps going. In 2014, Dalia was actually able to get her conviction overturned because of the publicity from the TV show Cops. So she was given a second trial, and during her second trial, Dalia dropped another bombshell. She's good at that. She tried to gain sympathy from the court by letting everybody know that she had given birth to a baby while she was on house arrest, awaiting her second trial. And during the second trial, she even tried to say that the police department was in on their reality TV show gig too the whole time. That Muhammad was the one that came up with the idea to go into the police station and meet with a real undercover police officer. Dalia says that she told Muhammad that she didn't want to do this, but that he threatened to kill her and her entire family if she didn't do what he wanted. Like, she just be lying to be lying. And this theory was completely shredded. There are no cameras, no scripts, no audio equipment, nothing that could have been used for a reality TV show. But during the second trial, Dalia claimed that misconduct on the prosecution's part. And whatever else happened in the second trial worked because Dalia walked free after the second trial, which is insane to me. But thank God the state attorney was like, oh hell nah, she ain't walking free on my watch. So in June of 2017, a third trial started against Dalia. They brought Mike and Muhammad and everybody else back to testify. And luckily, after the third trial, it only took 90 minutes to find her guilty, but this time she was only sentenced to 16 years. Dalia attempted to take her case all the way to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court laughed her all the way back to her prison cell, where she still is to this day. Dalia still says that she did not try to hire a hitman to kill her husband, and her release date is supposed to be set in 2032, and when she gets out then, if she gets out then, she'll only be 42 when she gets out, which would leave her plenty of time to remarry, find the fame and fortune that she so desperately wanted. Mike was later able to pay his entire restitution, and eventually he was able to get off probation altogether. And I'm not sure how you find love again after something like this, but damn it, Mike did it. He met a woman named Gloria, who he went on to later marry. The two are happily married, and Mike's real estate business, Atlantic Florida Properties, seems to be growing, and they seem to be happily married together. So that's what we wanted in the end, and I think that's all I have for you this week. So, let's do it again. Same time, same place, next Wednesday. See you then.
That's how my mama murdered a podcast.